You're listening to The Rush Hour with Grand Marquis.
Welcome back to the return of the Rush Hour 2.0. I am Grand Marquis coming at you live, and tonight we have a very special guest on the show with us today. We got an activist, well-known poet, and United States Vietnam veteran from the heart and soul of the music city of Nashville. K.H.A.O.S, welcome to the show, man. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine, man. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, man, we're delighted to have you today, man. We're going to touch on a few topics, everybody, about some serious things going on out here in this society, man, and in this nation of the United States of America. Now, on the poetry side, man, I heard that you are a poet, and there are a few well-known places in Nashville to go to for maybe a hot cup of tea, along with the enjoyment of poetic events, in which one in particular was called Poetry in the Brew. Have you ever attended any of the poetic events that took place at Poetry in the Brew or any other establishment before the beginning of the pandemic?
Yeah, I've been a pretty regular at Poetry in the Brew with Christine Hall for going on 4 or 5 years. I was introduced to it by another Nashville veteran poet by the name of James Floyd. They call him the Jefferson Street Poet.
Okay.
And James and I were church members, and he asked me one night to come out. And I went out, and I kind of got addicted to the ambiance of that spot. And so I've been going back ever since. And now, since the pandemic has been they have been broadcasting remotely.
Okay.
And I've been on pretty regular. I'd say at least 2 weekends out of the month.
Okay.
They were prior to the tornado and pandemic. They were just broadcasting once a month, the second Saturday of every month. But since that has transpired, they are now on every Saturday night.
Oh, okay. Okay, and let me ask you this. How does the web and social media now contribute to the well-being of poetry?
Well, actually, with all that's going on now, with all the police murders and the pandemic and the COVID-19 deaths and stuff, there's plenty of food for poetry. Because it's plenty of reasons and plenty thoughts to be transpired about any given subject almost.
Okay. All right, man. And I want to ask you, what do most well-written poems have in common?
I think, I don't know, my style of poetry, I prefer dealing with reality.
Gotcha.
I prefer dealing with things that are current and things that affect us as a race of people.
Oh yeah. All right, man. Well, we're gonna let's revert back to the night of March 3rd, 2020, when a tornado outbreak affected Nashville, Tennessee, which became the 6th costliest tornado in U.S. history. After many people across Middle Tennessee and West Tennessee were impacted from this deadly storm, you and a community-based organization played a major key role in relief action to help victims that were struck by the storm in areas that were the most unfortunate in the city.
Yeah, I am a member of the board of a group called Gideon's Army, which was founded by Rashida Fatugas. Rashida is a former school teacher, and she started Gideon's Army, which the full name is Gideon's Army for Defense of Children. And her reason for starting that organization was that in the public school system, a lot of her children were affected by the criminal justice system, by the school-to-prison pipeline, and she started having children show up dead. So when she approached the juvenile justice system about that phenomenon about gun violence, she was met with a deaf ear. So she decided that she could probably work toward restorative justice for children and juveniles outside of the school system rather than inside the school system, and she started Gideon's Army. But during the tornado, which you spoke of March 3rd, Gideon's Army stepped up and became one of the forefrontmost organizations in trying to restore normalcy to the community. She was instrumental in setting up first response centers to help with supplying the needs, the stables for people, food, water, medical attention, trying to help them recover for those who had lost their homes, helping them get temporary housing, and later on some of them permanent housing. In fact, that work is still ongoing. We have been instrumental in getting grants for different organizations that cater to this disaster. And in addition to that, she has continued her work with restorative justice. She formed a group called the Violence Interrupters, which is going into the neighborhood, especially 37208, going into the neighborhood trying to act as a deterrent to gun violence and to teen incarceration.
Okay, and that answered one of my questions, which was an effective method that you and this particular organization used to develop disaster recovery plans for some of the victims that were impacted. Now, my next question is: has there ever been a time when you had to deal with a personal loss, and if so, how did you overcome that situation?
Well, actually, I have lost several close friends to the COVID-19. I used to belong to a motorcycle club called Naptown Riders.
Oh, okay.
And one of the prominent members of Naptown Riders, Sam Brown, who lives on 16th Avenue North off of between Underwood and Cocker Street.
Oh, okay, okay.
Sam owned about 3 houses over in that community, which he was using for rental property. Plus, he also resided there.
Oh, okay. All right.
All 4 of his houses were seriously impacted.
Okay.
But luckily, 3 of them, which were rental property, only had minor roof damage.
Oh.
The house that he lived in was totally destroyed. He lost everything over there. And Sam, he had insurance on his house, so he is in the process of rebuilding his own home place. He was a contractor of sorts, so he ended up being employed by several of the investors who come over and bought property to help remodel some of the other houses in the community. So Sam is on the comeback trail, but here we are almost 7 months, and he's still without a place to live.
Yeah, gotcha. And I want to send a big shout out to all of the motorcycle clubs out there. I'm familiar with a few of them myself. Yeah, man, that's good news there, man. And also, man, I want to touch with you on a few things about the system of white supremacy. The fact of being black and brown under this system of white supremacy and racism here in the United States of America and all over the world continues to take its toll in the indoctrination, imprisonment, and destruction of all of the non-white people of the whole entire planet. It's plain to see that there is absolutely no such thing as a system of justice, especially here in the United States of America, with the giving orders of race soldiers within state law enforcement agencies to assassinate non-white people in this nation. Just to name a few, Rayshard Brooks, 27 years old, George Floyd, 46 years old, Breonna Taylor, 26 years old, Bottom Jean, 26 years old, Philando Castillo, 32 years old, Alton Sterling, 37 years old, Freddie Gray, 25 years old, Eric Gardner, 43 years old, and many, many more. But second-handedly, there are unprecedented number of black and brown people in this nation that are consistently contributing to the system of white supremacy by simply murdering and killing each other. And you would think that us as black and brown people would observe and constructively take the initiative to change and solve our own problems and cease contribution to a system that does not value us as human life whatsoever. what is your perspective of why Black Lives Matter? And I say this because I think we all should ask uh, ourselves this question.
Well, to me, Black lives definitely matters because I grew up under the system of Jim Crow. I was inducted into the Army in 1964, ended up serving in Vietnam. One of the questions that I was faced with while in Vietnam by the Vietnamese civilians themselves was why was I way over there in Vietnam fighting for the liberation of the Vietnamese people when you had Jim Crow operating wide open here in the United States and I wasn't even considered a full human being here.
Yeah.
And that was during the time of the ramping up of the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King and the likes of that. It also was during the time when there was fostering of citizen unrest in the country, after Kent State and things of that nature. And it was kind of a phenomenon in my mind. But as time has progressed, here it is almost 50 years later after my service in Vietnam, and it appears to me that instead of race relations in America getting better, they have gotten worse.
Exactly.
Now we have an executive officer, the President of the United States, openly condoning extremist groups and refusing to denounce groups like the Ku Klux Klan as being racist or being a terrorist organization. He has openly displayed contempt for black women, black news reporters, and then you have this phenomenon known as the Stockholm syndrome,
Yeah.
where you have black people who are continuing to align with that line of thinking. You
Yeah.
have people who are trying to convince other black people that all these are good people, or these y'all just been brainwashed. When you look at it, who has been brainwashed? Who's acting in our best interest and who isn't?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're absolutely right about that. You have a lot of people of what they call the Boule Club, these Boule Negroes. I'm gonna say it like it is. That's still enforcing the indoctrination of the other black people that are trying to see a clearer picture within this nation.
Well, some of the people that we hold up as heroes, like the rapper Lil Wayne. Man, this guy made a statement a while back that it just hurt me to my heart to see a black man dancing and doing the stepping bitches and the Uncle Ruckus. And he made the statement where, I don't really pay no attention. Don't none of this affect me because I'm rich.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
care nothing about him or nobody else. So, that hurts me. You got people like Candace Owens and Omarosa and Kanye, and it's sickening almost. But I understand that these people are dealing with the mental illness within themselves. They're dealing with the lack of racial pride. They're dealing with low self-esteem. They think that they can't be something unless condoned by the master.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's just heartbreaking. Did I look back at all the true revolutionaries, that the guys who put their life on the line? If you stop and think about it, John Brown was stabbed in the back by the very people that he sought to liberate.
Oh, wow.
And what did Black Moses say? She said, I freed 1,000 people, and I could have freed 1,000 more if only they had known they were slaves.
Yeah.
So they were busy running out back of the barn trying to tell Master that them black guys was running down across the field, boss. Hey, boss, they gonna hurt us bad.
Yeah.
And we got a whole lot of that going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. On a day-to-day basis, man. On a day-to-day basis, and referring back what you said about, I consider that those people in those kind of positions being rich slaves to the systems of white supremacy.
Well, somebody wrote a book not too long ago. I forget the name of the author, but the title of the book was $1 Million Slaves. And what they were talking about our professional athletes. Some of these guys are paid more, it's astronomical amounts of money to play football. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
But as far as what white society thinks about them, it's like shut up and dribble. You know what I'm saying? That's all you good for is entertaining. We don't care nothing about you as a person. But you got very few of these guys who are making this astonishing amount of money who are stepping up and holding true positions of leadership. LeBron James, I pat him on the back because this guy is really using his money and his time and his position to bring about a change.
Uh-huh.
But there's so many more who some of them even more famous and more richer than LeBron who aren't doing anything.
Absolutely. And shouts out to the Los Angeles Lakers for taking the championship along with LeBron James. But yeah, that's absolutely right. And this last subject that I want to touch on with you kind of refers to this as well. And last but not least, music legend and film producer Ice Cube currently being condemned by those in the world of social media and especially by a lot of the black and brown people of America. President Trump, he recently developed a so-called plan and accommodation of non-white people entitled the Platinum Plan, which is President Trump promised to prompt to black America over the next 4 years, only if he's reelected as president of the United States. But with that being said, music legend Ice Cube took the initiative to have a meeting with the Trump administration and also with a few officials involved in the Biden and Harris campaign to see what could constructively be done in terms of a plan that will best serve the interests of black and brown people in this nation. And my question is, what the hell is wrong with just simply meeting and speaking with some of our world leaders on behalf of the conditions of our own ethnic group?
Well, it's a funny thing, but we've got a generation now. They call themselves woke, and they profess to have a list of all the things that's wrong with society and with our people, but they aren't producing very many solutions to any of these things.
Uh-huh.
And then when you have people who step up and try to find solutions and try to reach out across the aisle to cooperate or get people to cooperate with things that are going to be beneficial to us, we have our own people throwing us under the bus.
Absolutely.
It's ironic, but I don't know. We are reactionaries rather than actionaries. We tend to jump on and criticize each other more so than anybody else. And we love throwing each other under the bus.
Absolutely.
Putting each other down. And I don't understand that phenomenon.
And I'm still trying to figure it out myself because, these are the people that control everything pretty much around us. Your natural resources, your food supply. So, why not try to at least figure something out or come with a plan that could, better our situation in this nation? Because it's plain to see how they feel about us.
Well, one thing about Ice Cube is that Ice Cube had the initiative to try. There have been other abolitionists and people throughout the history of our people. One prominent guy, the guy named Max Pratt, who has an organization called Abolition Now. And these people have been trying to find ways to make the so-called people in power be accountable to our race of people for a long time.
Right.
But they get very little support. They go nationwide, country to country, city to city, talking about reparations and things that need to be done to the benefit of the black community.
Right.
You take Nashville itself. I was a member of the sit-in movement in Nashville in the early 60s. My father was the first black public accountant in the city of Nashville.
Okay, wow.
Nashville at that time was a prominent economical place to be in Nashville. All the black businesses were in one place. They were congregated on Jefferson Street.
Okay.
The urban renewal plan that brought 440 did through the heart of the black community, thereby disrupting its stable economic base. And we don't have anybody that's trying to reach out and trying to dissolve those types of plans. But then comes Ice-Cube, who comes up with a plan, and he's trying to find people to help him support this plan.
Right.
And try to find people to help find common ground that we could all get some benefit out of.
Right.
And the people who, all right, Biden-Harris administration, they told him that they were busy trying to get elected right now.
Yeah, and they
to sit down and talk to him after the
absolutely.
Trump told them, come on over, let's hear what you got to say. And then Trump made promises, but Trump's promises were kind of in the line of blackmail. You know, you help me do this, and I'll help
you do that. Right.
So Cube himself he made no commitment, no kind of way.
Absolutely. And the people took it as if he was siding with the administration or whatnot. And I was just looking at it from a bigger view and a bigger standpoint. Like, you know, what's wrong with simply, you know, sitting down talking with somebody trying to change something, or, you know, possibly could change. I'm just gonna say possibly.
Well, there again goes back to that crab in a barrel mentality that some of us seem to have. Take the Rashida Patuga, who founded Gideon's Army. Now, out of all the things that Gideon's Army has done to uplift black people in this city here, all of them were met with negativity on the part of the powers that be. When Megan Barry was the mayor, and we went to them with the Driving While Black report, which was issued in 2016, 15, 16. And what we did, we went to the Metro Council and we informed them that there was a great disparity in traffic stops in Nashville, with the burden being on people of color. The average person that drove in Nashville, people of color, was stopped 3 to 4 times more than the average white citizen.
Uh-huh.
And you know, they were stopped for frivolous stuff and ended up being charged with something anyway after they were stopped. So we kind of warned that if this pattern of policing didn't stop and police didn't become held accountable, that although we hadn't had the trouble that they've had in other cities like Ferguson and Baltimore, that it was very possible that a powder keg could be produced.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, 2 years after that comes the Marquis Clemens murder.
Oh, okay.
But Megan Barry and Chief Anderson, they refused to be accountable. They labeled Gideon's Army as an upstart instigator organization.
Uh-huh.
And you know, they dismissed us. Then Megan Barry turned right around, went to New York City and hired a consulting firm, paid them thousands of dollars to come in and analyze police training and police operations, and they come back and gave them the same thing that Gideon's Army gave them.
Oh, wow.
But they were paid. We did it for free. So then when we started pushing for police accountability after the Marquis Clemens murder, Chief Anderson refused to share any information. We don't talk about police, and we don't talk about training, and we don't talk about policy, and all this kind of crap. And he labeled us a thorn in the side. Did everything they could to get rid of it. So we pushed for a citizens oversight board. They just flat out turned that down. So we went to referendum and we got a petition going, and they told us we had to have 50,000 names on the petition. We got that in no time flat. When we went to present it to the council, we couldn't find nobody that would sign for the receipt of the petition. So we scoured the building, sat there 4 hours to finally find somebody. Glenn Funk was assisted us in helping find somebody that was authorized to sign for the petition. So it went to the vote. The citizens overwhelmingly approved it. So now they had to set up a citizen oversight board. Uh-huh. But what did they do? The paternal order police come in and start pulling the teeth out of it. No subpoena power. No sharing of information that was that was considered sensitive by the police department, or nothing about ongoing investigation, and all that kind of crap. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So you know, and after they put, then they demanded that how can citizens, just plain citizens, sit in judgment of the police department and make recommendations when they didn't know how police operated? So they demanded that we have some ex-policemen on the board, you know, which is like hanging yourself, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so all this kind of crap is going on, and the average citizen has no idea of what's going on.
Absolutely.
What,
Absolutely. And you know that's part of that local system, what they refer to as the good old boys club.
well, not only the local, this is national. This is inbred into policing all over the country.
Absolutely.
What a lot of civilians don't understand is that the police have a tool which is called implied immunity,
Mm-hmm.
which means that if a policeman commits any kind of crime, including murder, during the operation of his duty, during the performance of his duty, that he is immune from being prosecuted, which is why it's so hard to prosecute a policeman for killing somebody. And the average citizen don't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes we are our own worst enemy when it comes to encounters with the policeman. Because although you have rights, supposedly, although you have rights, and although the police are wrong sometimes, and you are right, the street is not the place to argue. What you want to do with a police encounter is to try to go on and get it past the initial stop as fast as possible. Get it into the court, and there you can fight your battle for what was right and what was wrong. Because we see what's happening when you try to present the case at the curbside.
Yeah.
When they mess around and kill you out there, and then they cover it up, and then look at the two home invasions, the one with Breonna Taylor and the one that happened right here in Nashville, in South Nashville, where both times they breached the house with a no-knock law. Both times it was the wrong house, the wrong people. One time ended up in the murder of Breonna Taylor. The second one, out of J.C. Napier in South Nashville, they breached this woman's house 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
A single parent in there with young children trying to get them ready to go to school, and she was undressed. And they beating on the door, and she's talking to them through the door. I'm coming, give me a chance to get dressed and stuff. And then they gave the order to go on and breach the door. Knocked it down. One in there terrorized her and her children. You know what I'm saying? And then they turned around and offered as some kind of, I don't know, gift for wronging her to buy some groceries or something.
Right. Oh, wow.
They done tore the woman's door off the end, just done terrorized, traumatized her and her children, and it was the wrong house. They operating off of false information.
And you know what? I think that would have been a very, very different scenario if that was a non-black person.
Yeah, but you know, the only good thing to come out of that is that the interim chief right now, he saw the wrong of that immediately, and he put everybody on the line and holding and pressing for accountability in that situation. So, as considerations is being considered for a permanent chief of police, he weighs heavy. The powers that be in selecting a new chief are leaning heavy toward him because he seems right now to stem the anger of the black community.
Yeah, yeah.
So whether he proves to be the guy for the job remains to be seen.
Oh wow, yeah, man. It's everything is upside down and it's a big mess out here, man. So somebody's gonna have to come up with something, man. Because I'm afraid if we keep going the rate that we're going, man, the situation is just gonna tighten up worse and worse and worse than what it is, man.
Well, the Proud Boys now are calling for a civil war if Trump don't get reelected. So they doing everything they can to try to keep the tensions high between the races. And but my thing is this: I truly don't understand how Mexican Americans, people of Latin American descent, and black people, and especially black women, can side with Trump after all the open disdain that he's shown for us, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Even Gideon's Army, in spite of all that Gideon's Army has done and all that they're doing for this city, just last week I was made aware of somebody that launched a reputational slur calling them an extremist group. They were talking about some young lady who was running for office,
Uh huh.
and she made the statement that she thought Gideon's Army was a very worthy organization. And then they said, well, she's siding with extremists.
Well, that's a tool that they always use, which is the mainstream media, to turn something good into making it seem as if it's something terrible or nothing to mess around with. In spite of the things that are happening that are good from where it's coming from. So, those are some things and tools that they have always used, which is movies, TV, and media, and propaganda. So
But the president of the United States can stand up on his high horse and say that there were some very fine people at Charlottesville. The black community down on Oprah Winfrey. They down on Gayle King. So they want to pull the black card of everybody who says something that they don't like. But the truth of the matter be, we've got to face up to some of this stuff that we don't like to hear that our people are doing to each other. You know?
absolutely, absolutely. That's where it starts. It starts in house first, and
Yeah.
you have to be constructive about everything, with the black community if you want to, have change. Because, like I said, if not, it's going to continue to linger and linger and linger. And this thing has been going on, like you said, as you've known for the past 50 years since you've served, the United States Army.
Yeah. Well, the army itself the army actually was more democratic than the country was because the army looked at every soldier as an individual and as an intricate part of their operation. But even within the army, you had that subculture of racism and all that kind of stuff going on, sexism, racism. Look at the phenomena at this one particular base in South Texas where black women keep showing up dead, raped and murdered, and nobody's been held accountable for it.
Uh
You
huh.
know, and look at the phenomena all over this country of black people being found home. Now, and rude suicide. Now, come on now. If you're a black person, given the history of black people and hanging in America, and you think you're going to be suicidal, I could think of a much better way, a much more satisfactory way to do away with myself than hanging. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The symbolism, just the very symbolism. If I'm trying to hurt somebody or something, and I really don't want to die, I think I would probably choose the quickest method possible, which would probably be gunshot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I'd go out some lonely place where there was no chance of being saved and tie a rope around my neck and jump off a box.
Yeah. Yeah.
You talk about being impacted by racism. A very fine young man that I knew several years ago named K.H.A.O.S. He played football at Innsworth High School. He was an exceptional football player.
Uh huh.
He went to Morehouse College, but a lot of people thought because he was such a good football player and he played football at Morehouse that he went on an athletic scholarship. He actually went on an academic scholarship because he was that good of a student. So after 2 years at Morehouse, and he was kind of like on the right track to be inducted into pro football, he came home one Christmas, bought his first car, told his mother that he was going to Gallatin to get one of his former schoolmates at Innsworth to put a stereo system in the car.
Uh huh.
When he got to Gallatin, he called his mother and told her that the guy wasn't home yet. He hadn't got home from work. And he was going to the bank to get some money out to pay the guy when the guy got home. They found his body hanging behind the bank.
Oh
He was a
wow.
young man, an exceptional young man. He was very highly intelligent, great athlete. Just bought his first car, trying to put a stereo system in it. Now, it just don't add up that he would kill himself.
Oh
You know,
wow.
so it's no doubt in my mind that he was murdered. I mean, he was held in such high esteem at Morehouse that Morehouse sent their entire men chorus up here to sing at his funeral.
Mm.
You know, the student body come up here on 6 chartered buses. Now, does this seem like a guy that would be so conflicted in his mind that he would kill himself?
Right.
But being black and being from the 37208 area, you know, they just swept it under the rug. Oh, he killed himself. And needless to say, this guy was the hope of his family. You know, it tore his family all to pieces. It completely disrupted his mother, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet it did. I bet it did. Yeah. Yeah. So
And,
this, you know,
so you know, you got this kind of stuff going on. You remember the athlete somewhere in the South that they found rolled up in a gym mat
yeah,
with
that,
all his organs missing?
yeah, that was, I think that was, a young guy. He was down in Georgia, and it's supposedly, you know, they had footage of him walking through the gymnasium. I don't know where he was on his way to, and then suddenly they found him rolled up in some sort of a wrestling mat or something like that.
That cushion match what you put on the gym floor when you're doing gymnastics.
Yeah, and so I think his parents had his body removed.
They found him doing kind of stuff, you know. Like they ruled it a suicide. So, all right, how do you kill yourself? Wrap yourself up in a gym mat and remove all your organs.
Absolutely, and then and you know the organs were replaced with newspaper.
Yeah. Yeah, his body cavity was stuffed with newspaper.
Yeah,
So that was a deliberate and cruel racist attack upon him.
yeah.
And so you know, Kamar Rice, you know, here's a kid 11 years old playing with a gun in the park with his sister. And the police rolled up on him. Well, first of all, somebody called him, and the caller did tell the police that it's probably a toy. But when they rolled up on him within 3 seconds after getting out, after accosting him, they killed him.
Yeah. Open fire on him. Yeah.
They had a young man in the department store shopping in the toy section, and somebody called and said he had a gun. The police entered the store and killed him in the aisle of the department store. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And you know, like I said, this is what we're dealing with up under the rule of white supremacy in this nation, and you know, us black and brown people, man, we're gonna have to figure something out because you know, pretty much we, you know, contributing to that system through the destruction of ourselves.
Well, you know, the other phenomenon is that I really don't understand, and I've heard you talk about this before. Why do we continue using gun violence on each other? You know, just this week, you know, there was 3 guys that were shot to death. And they talk about it. It appears to be a drug. You know, this has been the excuse for a long time. Drug deal gone bad. But you know, if you go out here and you kill somebody and you get caught and sent to the penitentiary, and then another guy goes out and does the same thing, get caught, sent to the penitentiary, what makes me think that I can go out here and do this and get away with it?
Right.
So it just don't make no sense, but it's a part of that training. You know, it's a part of that conditioning that we as a race of people have been conditioned to think of ourselves as nothing, to think lowly of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to want to destroy anybody that shows any potential of escaping this system of oppression. You know?
Yeah, it's something to reckon with, man. And you know, last but not least, I want to ask you about this. Now, this was just recently, I think today, on the local news networks. You know, they did the painting, I think in East Nashville, of the Black Lives Matter slogan. And
right there on by the juvenile courts.
Yeah, and already, man, they are experiencing havoc, by people trying to disrupt that, which I seen that coming before they even got started on it.
Well,
Man.
This has happened in other cities, so they knew that. But my thing is this: all right, if you know that this is a potential to be a draw, like they shoot up the M&T sign in Mississippi and things like that, then why not place that strip of road under surveillance so that you can apprehend the people that are committing these hate crimes? The other thing I saw on the news this morning where they had tire tracks where people were down there spinning rubber and scratching out on the side. Why paint a mural on the street that traffic is going to go over that's not going to be indestructible by traffic?
Right, but you know what? I also want to touch on, this actual slogan itself, Black Lives Matter, because it kind of seems like, when this slogan happened after George Floyd was murdered, they actually used the slogan and turned it against us and capitalized from it.
Yeah.
So it's I think back in the day they had a slogan called "I'm Black and I'm Proud." It's like almost every other century or time, timeline has some sort of a slogan, and then they use it to their advantage and capitalize on it and market it and make all kind of revenue from it.
Well, it's funny because when Martin Luther King was out there talking about nonviolence, the majority of the black people were against it. I just can't see put myself acting as a sacrificial lamb. But Martin Luther King patterned his protest after Gandhi, and he saw that the hatred and the brutality that was going to be pitted against nonviolence was going to show up the abusers as being the ruthless people that they were. And it worked to an extent. But then you had other detractors, people coming through talking about black power and people talking about retribution or retaliation or vigilante law, which isn't working, but it helps fuel the argument against any kind of black action. So that's the same thing with the Black Lives Movement. You got these people who are out here bringing awareness to what's going on, but you got another group of people who are detracting.
Absolutely.
They are paid or their passion makes them go in and try to disrupt anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that the powers that be will have ammunition to shut it down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people see that either. It's I don't know, man. But you know what, man? We would like to end this show, man, and we're gonna probably end up having a part 2 coming soon of this particular show with these subjects. And man, we would like to thank our guest K.H.A.O.S for being with us today. And be sure to stay tuned for more to come, only on the return of the Rush Hour 2.0 with Grand Marquis, and we appreciate you, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Likewise. And y'all be sure to check us out on YouTube at the Independent Media Group Association, or you can search us on Facebook as well at the IMGA Media Group. And y'all take care of yourselves out there, and y'all remain safe, man. And peace out.